You'll notice that I almost always say yes and then and that's part of the sorting. And it sort of relates, that it is related that there is no right and wrong. And with that, it's the responses to people as they say things or even ask questions, is you can get away literally with answering a question with a question by using yes and. And the way that you do that is you say yes. And where does that go on the matrix? Is essentially what you're doing. So somebody might say, I'm really mad at my boyfriend and I'd like to go tell him off. Like, oh, where's your boyfriend right now? Is he here in the room? No, no, no. He's in my middle experiencing. Oh, they said you were mad. Where is he? And so you're just always saying yes. That's basic sorting. And then the person might say, what should I do about my boyfriend? What should I do? And you will go, oh yeah, boy, that's really something to think about, what to do. That really matters on where you are with him in the moment, and all kinds of stuff depend on that. Oh, where do you think you might see him next in terms of your five senses experiencing? Where might you encounter your boyfriend? Now notice, see, I'm play acting, but that's sort of a real life situation of where somebody's asked me a question, but in reality, I really don't know the answer to what she needs to do. She needs to come up with the answer herself. But she's used to people maybe coming up with the answers for her. And so you heard me saying, yeah, yeah. Well, it depends on where you meet up with your boyfriend. Where do you think you might meet up with him next? And now I switched it into a sort. And so that's the five senses. So in terms of five senses, where might he be? Your house, your apartment, car, wherever. And I'll switch it over to that. And then we'll make it contextual. And then we'll ask, well, what kind of possible behaviors could you do? Da 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 da. Always saying yes. Yes and is almost always the response that you give to somebody during this. Now, the better you do the presentation, the less you'll need yes and. Because people get into the psychological flexibility and they won't ask you pointed questions and stuff. They just sort of get into the presentation. But sometimes they'll ask you, and it's best to say yes and. Now, the way to picture this yes anding, I get from my Aikido friends. And not that this is a martial art, but my Aikido friends, and Aikido is a martial art where you don't make contact. You redirect a person's physical energy. Well, this is redirecting a person's word energy. So they've asked you a question with words, and the words have come at you. And instead of you just taking on those words and soaking them in, so to speak, you gently turn and put the words, or invite the person to put the words into the matrix diagram. So think of the words coming at you. You put your hand out, you gently touch the words, and you redirect the words into the diagram. I know that sounds far-fetched, but that's essentially what you're doing. And many people have watched many people doing this, and that's what you do, is you have the person do their own sorting. Because in this business, the person needs to derive up their own behaviors, their new behaviors. You're not giving them new behaviors that might work for valued living. They're deriving up. The person is deriving up new behaviors. And the way you do that is to increase their psychological flexibility. And the way you increase their psychological flexibility is to take their words that are sort of kind of inflexible and have them sort them onto the matrix or into the matrix, and they get more psychological flexibility. And you'll hear this happen. They'll go, oh, well, I could do this. Boom. That's a derivation of a new thing they could do. And the way you do that is you say yes, 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 and, yes, and. Just stay away from the no's. Why? Because no's stop everything. This is a bit like improvisational comedy. And if you look up improvisational comedy on the net and read about it just a little bit, you'll see that it's based on yes ands. Not that this is all comedy, but it is based on yes anding. And the problem with saying no in improvisation is that it stops it. It just, hey, what do you think about wearing an elephant's tusk and marching around on the stage? And if somebody says no, well, then the whole performance just stops. It's tough. You got to say yes and go about doing it. Well, that's this way. It's yes. You keep spinning things, keep bringing things into the matrix, keep doing it that way. You'll get the hang of it. I'm explaining it with words, and if you watch and listen to some webinars and do this, you'll get the hang of this. But it's important for me to talk about it a little bit. Yes, anding.